Welcome to Spirit School. My name is Danielle Sarenk, also known as the Squamish Medium. I am the host of your Spirit School, where I will share all the lessons and learnings that I have uncovered through my intuitive development and mediumship development journey. I am a professional psychic and medium, an intuitive teacher and mentor, and I look forward to walking alongside you on this journey. Hello, Spirit School listeners. Thank you for tuning in for another week. Probably just a little short episode. I just felt inspired to hop on and do this because as we are nearing the final 11 days of 2019, and I will do a full episode next week on the 2019 kind of wrap up and 2020 January energy forecast. So I will do that separately. But I really wanted to hop on this episode because we are clearly where we look at the shit that just occurred from the past year and what a year 2019 has been. Now, numerologically, it was a 3-year Holy Trinity, a very holy number, the number 3, very divine. For me personally, it was a 1 year. My personal number, which was a very starting year, individual year. It was, every year when you look back, there's definitely the good, the bad, the ugly, the fantastic. That's still the case with this year for everybody around. But I did receive some messages last week from angels around this reflection process, because obviously I've been doing my own reflecting. Now, here's my theory on some stuff. Now, the same theory can be applied to people who are just starting to do readings, mediumship or psychic, as well as our own kind of process. So we come from a state of bliss. Our core essence as a spirit is bliss and love and divine loving energy. So I find it's easier to pick up on negative energy. Now, not like demonic energy. I don't even believe in that kind of stuff. But I mean like, when we look back, it's easier for us to pick up on the not so great things that have happened because they are completely foreign to our core essence. Whereas it takes a little bit more effort to look back on the amazing things that have happened. So in that way, I'm seeing a lot of posts happening on social media like 2019, WTF, and wow, what a year. And I bet you, when you start to do your reflection work, you will see there are as many beautiful things that had happened as there are crappy things that had happened. So I challenge you, and I hate using that word, but to try to look at it from both perspectives. Now, I was in my own little cycle last week when I was starting to reflect on 2019 and looking forward to 2020. And I was doing the same thing I know other people do. I'm like, holy cow, like I was sick. I faced an incredible amount of rejection this year, more than any other time in my life. But the truth is, up until this point, I'd never really put myself out there far enough to even get rejected. And what Spirit was showing me when I was reflecting on this was, please see your year and your life these past 365 days through the loving eyes of angels. Your perspective will shift. So how I do that is when I'm getting spiraled down in my mind, and you can feel when the information is coming from your mind versus in your heart, I know that I need to sit and take some deep breaths, tune into my heart, and I simply say, thank you, angels, for allowing me to see this through your loving eyes and from your perspective, your divine perspective. And immediately the reflection moves from my head down into my heart. And even when I'm reflecting on the bad and the ugly that happened this year, so I'm going to use the rejection as an example. I put myself out there, especially on social media. I offered certain things and nobody came. I applied to be like a teacher on some things and I didn't get approved. But what Spirit showed me was, yeah, you got rejected 10 times this year, and yeah, it hurt. But look where you are now. You're still alive. You're still breathing. You're still confident. You're still trekking along in a beautiful way. Basically, nothing happened other than your feelings got hurt. So what's fascinating about reflecting on this through the eyes of the angels was I faced a huge fear putting myself out there this year. Huge fear. I mean, I posted this podcast on December 28th so basically at the very end of 2019. 2018 and early 2019, and I received over 10,000 downloads this year on my little podcast that is super niche, and I have it played now in over 30 countries. Download my episodes every week, and I put myself out there, and courage was my word of 2019, and I lived up to that in so many ways, including putting myself out there, and I was unaffected in any other way about all the rejection I faced. And so when I looked through the eyes of the angels, yes, I could have dwelled in my mind, that amygdala that picks up, I was rejected here, I was rejected here, I didn't accomplish this, I didn't accomplish this and that. But instead, I'm like, wow, not only did I not die, but I'm still going. And still going in a very motivated and passionate way, because I know that I can face my fears now and not be so scared to do things that have crippled me in the past and that have kept me small. So that's just an example of how doing the exercise I just told you around sitting down and connecting into your heart and calling in the angelic powers to help you see through their eyes, love and grace, how you can switch a perspective of a situation that happened to you this year. I know a lot of people this year who went through huge relationship changes, meaning marriages ending, just long-term relationships ending, huge shifts here. So what you can do with that is, definitely you might get caught up in your mind on, this and that happened, or they cheated, or I cheated, or I made a mistake, or they made a mistake. But I bet you if you took some deep breaths and tuned into your heart, ask the angels to see through their loving eyes of divine grace and love, you would feel through your heart the positive that happened out of this experience. Like your soul was calling for freedom, and you have that freedom now. So it's time to move forward on the next steps of your growth. And it's not going back. Do not sacrifice the past to move forward in the future, is the message that the angels always give me around this. Okay, so doesn't matter what you're looking at. Could be the loss of a job, or the turning down of a potential additional stream of income. Whatever you're dwelling on from 2019, I encourage you to do this exercise, okay? Now, at the time I'm posting this, it is Friday, December 20th. So Saturday, December 21st in the Northern Hemisphere is the longest night of the year, the winter solstice. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, because you're not going to hear from me again until after Christmas when I do the January energies and 2020 energies, the winter solstice also signifies the time of the year where the veil between our world and the spirit world is at its thinnest. So one thing I'd really encourage you to do, because the spirit world is so accessible at this time, I actually just wrapped up my final session of 2019, and I'm taking 6 weeks off starting winter solstice, because this is the time where I preserve and I do not serve. So for the next 6 weeks, I will not be serving the world of spirit. I will be accepting wisdom. I will be looking for, me to get to know myself a bit deeper as I enter the void. We call it the void of winter. But it's also a time where the spirit world can be felt in a multitude of ways. So some might say this is the best time to serve because it would be easier to connect to the world of spirit. Well, guess what? I love connecting with the world of spirit because of how they feel, but I want to connect with my loved ones as well. So this is what I do during this time. Tomorrow, I'll pick up a candle for everybody who is in the world of spirit that I communicate with. So my guide Skylar, my other guide V, my main guide that I know is very much around me. When I talk about angels, I feel them around me right now. My grandparents. So I'm going to have quite a few candles. They could be tea lights. They could be like long stem candles, and I'll light one for each. And as I light one for each, I'm from my heart, I'm calling them forward. I'm saying thank you for your wisdom for this year. Thank you for your energy, safety, and protection for the year looking ahead. I do that work on the actual solstice. I also do a fire ceremony where I release. It's not full moon time, but still it's a time where you can release what you want to release. So anything that you're clinging on to for 2019, I highly recommend you burn that shit. So write it on a piece of paper and burn it, because you do not want to carry it into 2020. So that's just kind of like wrapping up solstice. But the thinness of the veil lasts for a few weeks. And I hate saying it like that because in the world of spirit, there is no time. I truly think it's not like the spirit world thins the veil. I think that we thin it as people because our natural tendency, because we've always lived in natural rhythms of Mother Earth and the Cosmo and Grandmother Moon. So it's in our cellular DNA to slow down enough that we can perceive the world of spirit easier. It's just what happens in winter. So that's why I think we call it the thinning of the veil. Okay, so for Christmas, because this veil is so thin, what I like to do to honor the ancestors and to honor those that I'd lost to the world of spirit, or the spirit world had called them home, is I'll actually dish up a plate for the ancestors. Now, some people might have space at the table to actually set a table place. But I actually leave it on the counter by the food. And so I'll scoop up an extra plate and I'll set my intention and say thank you, ancestors, for coming near as we join together as a family and celebrate our connection. And I'm not religious. Of course, I believe in Jesus, being a human being, but we don't celebrate Christmas in the traditional way at my house. We just gather as a family and we use it as our time of year to connect with one another. So that's what I do to honor the ancestors. And I kid you not, every time I do it and I talk about it, I get covered in shivers because I know it's well received. So that's kind of what's going to be happening within like the next week. And I encourage you to do something, whether it's what I said or whether it's your own little ritual, to honor those that, have been called home. And do it from like a really loving place and an open place. And what the world of spirit has shown me will happen is that you will start to receive more signs within the next week than probably any other time of the year, because you're doing this intention work. You're calling them forward. Your heart is cracked open and you're sitting in the void and the depths of winter. We call in the return of the sun come Sunday, the 22nd. And so we start to feel hopeful again as we've seen the nights get darker and longer. In Squamish, the sun sets behind the mountains at 2:30 right now where I live in Brackendale. Like, that's a short night. It doesn't get pitch black until 4 p.m., but still, we welcome the hopefulness of the return of the sun, and the days minute by minute start getting longer. The days get longer. It's just a beautiful, hopeful time and a beautiful transition that's deeply felt, more so than summer solstice, because the ease from spring to summer is beautiful and it's seamless, right? And so winter is definitely a harder time. Anyways, I'm just kind of babbling on, but this is what Spirit really wanted me to speak to you about for this short little episode. Now, I just pulled a card for you guys for the next week until I do the year-end wrap-up and the 2020 and January 2020 vibes. And I got you Star Mother. How can you mother yourself? I know it's mostly women who listen to my podcast. I definitely have some male listeners because they reach out to me, but this can be applied to anybody. You're drawn to this podcast because you're drawn to the service work in the world of spirit, without a doubt. So we are used to mothering others. We are used to showing up in a caring, supportive, nurturing way for others. But the world of spirit is asking you for the next week. It's going to be crazy busy for everybody out there, but please take some time to nurture yourself. Have a bath every day for half an hour. What would you do for somebody that you'd love? You'd sit and you'd listen. You'd give them space. You'd cook for them. You'd get their drinks. What else would you do? You'd wash their face. You'd make sure that they were kept well. So do what you would do as a mother. And do this for yourself, because right now the world of spirit is asking us to be nurtured. But I did it the other day when I was out Christmas shopping. I was surprised. I'm like, we're so automated in this time. We're so surface level. We're just walking around like freaking zombies. Even me. Even me, I'm saying like, oh, I'm above everyone. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying, even me, I literally walked around the mall on my lunch break the other day, and I wasn't even excited about Christmas shopping. It was like, I gotta get this, I gotta get this, I gotta get this. Like, I felt like a freaking robot. And it was so not what this season is about, but it's what we've put ourselves in. It's the pressure we've put ourselves in. So Spirit's really encouraging us to start going back to our roots. And we're seeing this in different areas of life. I did my end of life doula episode last week or the week before. And I talk about how we're trying to, bring death back home and not in the hospital setting where it's been for the past 130 years. We're trying to bring people back home because we're finding that the older ways worked well. And we kind of got caught up in this down hill snowball effect of, quick things happening, instant gratification, people doing things for us. And trust me, I'm the biggest outsourcer you'll ever meet. I outsource half my life just to be able to survive. But it takes us further away from the things that really brought us joy and made us happy 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, the simplicity. So I've only gotten my kids 2 gifts each. And they'll get a stocking. I'm really trying hard to bring back the simple life, which kind of gave us space to stargaze, to garden, to take meaningful and mindful walks, to eat mindfully, right? When we're not crazy thinking about the next thing, or, I got to eat really fast because I got to get the kids to bed. And then you're just literally filling a hole at that point. Spirit's really calling us to kind of go back to our roots and go back to the ways in which we felt more connected with one another, because I could tell you now we have never been more disconnected from one another. So, as you start looking forward to 2020 and you start doing this reflection work, I want you to maybe think about different ways in which you can simplify your life and simplify, your routine, so that you can start making connections again, connections with friends and family and children and animals and nature, the moon, the stars, your interests. And this will lead to more fulfillment. So this is it, my random podcast episode that Spirit asked me to take a seat to do. And hopefully I serve the world of Spirit well today. And I wish you all an absolutely Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season. And I will be online at the end of next week doing the next episode. So thank you all for being supporters of the podcast. I highly recommend and ask that you please leave a review and a 5-star rating so more people can find this podcast, and share the episodes that you love, and tag me on Instagram at Squamish Medium. Thanks, everyone.